hot button topics in college football today is compensation for athletes. Where do you stand with that?
Well, I definitely think it should be something that should be explored, man. I mean, you have these revenue-generating universities, you know what I'm saying, making a ton of money. And, I mean, kids coming from various backgrounds. Everybody's background is a tad bit different, you know what I'm saying? Some people come from a pretty rough background. Some people's families aren't as financially stable as people may think. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, being with the NCAA and them making all this money, I just think it's something that should be looked into. That's why, and I think if it is looked into, you know what I'm saying, if something does happen and players are paid a little bit more, maybe a lot of these things that are going on outside of football, as far as players taking money, will cease to exist.
I agree. I mean, I definitely think it should be something that's explored proactively. It just gets sensitive where you start talking about other sports.
Yeah, who do you pay?
All right. Who do you pay?
How many do you pay?
How many do you pay? And that's just legislation that they'll have to figure out on their own. But I mean, I think it's a positive thing. I think kids, college is college. You definitely struggle your way through, but we don't really have the opportunity to make money like
to work.
Student.
Right. You can't work. You can't get a job.
We already do work 40 hours a week. Sometimes beyond that, and I mean, you can't afford to do it, and it just becomes too much. And I think I definitely think it's worth exploring. I think they should do it proactively and really find a way to do it.
I think Patrick and Aaron are right on. Definitely something that they should look into. Like Aaron said, everyone comes from different backgrounds. They do have, the Pell Grant for those who come from, difficult financial backgrounds, but, that sometimes just doesn't cut it. For a guy like Aaron, he's got to travel all the way across the country to go home. And, for a guy like me and Patrick, we just hop in the car and drive home. And, it's much easier for us, but, Aaron's got to buy a $500 plane ticket every time he wants to go home. And, I definitely think with the money that the NCAA makes that, they definitely should look into it and see if they can, get something done.
Are we talking about money to buy a pizza with, we're not talking about money to splurge with.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about bills and we're talking about some serious things here, because you got to understand, a lot of people don't understand, we don't get checks in the month of January and May. You know what I'm saying, to cover rent, and rent is still due. You know what I'm saying? So
I think the other big issue too is a lot of guys. Madison is an expensive city.
Right. Yeah, it is.
If you want to live in a decent place, you're going to spend between $600 and $800 on rent. Then you got to buy food, and that's another thing is we eat so much food and have to spend so much money on food that I think that the budget that they have implemented into the checks simply for things like food, rent, and bills, you maybe end up with $50 or $20 at the end of the month to go to the movies or do whatever. And
I mean, I say you easily. I bet we have the worst credit ratings in the country.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you understand, a lot of people on the outside aren't going to be sympathetic.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely not.
But yeah. When you don't,
it's understandable.
Yeah.
But they
You're getting your education paid for.
Yep.
I think on the outside looking in, I actually had a debate in one of my classes. On the outside looking in, people don't understand. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at the grand scheme of things and you're actually placed into the fire, it's a little more hotter when you're placed into the fire as opposed to looking at it from the street. You know what I'm saying? So I think the people who don't understand, they some of them aren't as educated on it. You know what I'm saying? When they realize that we don't get checks for 2 months out of the year, how are we supposed to still cover our rent? When they realize that some of these players are from further places than others. When they realize that some of these parents at home are struggling to pay their bills, and some of these parents are losing their jobs. You know what I'm saying? When they realize that, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I mean, we got the whole thing going on with the state. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff. I just think it needs to be explored.
Well, before we leave this topic, I want you to each address this. What do you think is the value of a Wisconsin education? You'll probably be able to answer this better 10 years down the road than you can today, but based on what you know today, what do you think it is?
Obviously, Wisconsin is an outstanding academic institution. A degree from Wisconsin carries a tremendous amount of weight in the business world, and a degree from the university that we attend is a pretty big deal, and can help you have success later on in life. And I think that really you really can't put a price on that. And, you know, I know all of us are really, really blessed to have the opportunity that we do.
Absolutely. I think we're really lucky. And, you know, a school like Wisconsin, I think we're so fortunate to be able to attend top 30 school in the country, but also be in the top 25 for football every year. I could probably pick 3 or 4 schools that fill both of those credentials. And we're extremely lucky to have the social experiences that we've had and carry those experiences with us. And when we start applying for jobs, this school is so well networked all around the country that I honestly would not rather be in another school in the Big Ten.
Right. I mean, they hit it on the head. It truly is priceless, man. It truly is priceless. But I mean, all the players who leave here aren't guaranteed a job. I mean, everybody who leaves here. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But it is a priceless education.
And you all sound grateful, too, for having this opportunity.
So, and don't get us wrong. I think
for real.
when you start talking about this pay for play, trust me, we're glad we don't have to pay college tuition.
Oh, yeah.
But
no complaints.
Right, no, not at all.
College football is a cash cow. We're not.
Well, you understand where everybody's coming from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a revenue, and you look at these coaches. I mean, there are people employed. A lot of what we do affects people, the coaches. I mean, these coaches' jobs depend on the performance of 18 to 23-year-olds, which is ridiculous to think. That's a lot more pressure than a lot of college kids.
Yeah.
And how you handle the pressure sometimes determines the type of success you have.
Exactly.
Yeah, they say if you think there's pressure, there probably is.